good afternoon, Manhattan, and welcome back into Studio D in McCain Auditorium for another episode of the SGA Weekly Update on Wildcat 91.9. You belong. Jimmy Kaufman's the name. Yapping is the game, and I'm back with a whole other wacky cast of characters to talk about the Student Governing Association. What do we do? How does it work? And how can it help you? Today, I am pleased to be joined by Aliyah Davuti, the Campus Access Director, as well as the International Affairs Director, Musa Gakko. Welcome in, both of you, and good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having us.
How are we doing?
Super good. It's just cold outside, but
very cold outside. It's especially compared to the weather we've had. I mean, on Monday, I was sitting on my porch, and I decided, you know what? Why watch TV inside when you can watch TV outside? And I brought a TV out to my porch, and I watched the USA baseball game against Mexico in just the most beautiful weather. Got to see the sunset. Bobby Witt Jr. is a revelation at shortstop. It was a good time. So I would not recommend doing that today, though. It's a little bit windy. If you're in Kansas City, take cover. The rain, the hail last night was nuts. But here in Manhattan, it's going to get going. It's going to be some great days ahead weather-wise. But I want to get into some SGA stuff here with Aliyah as well as Musa. I want to go ahead and start with Musa. Let's start with you. Sure. International Affairs Director for the SGA. You were part of Brady Kappelman's cabinet, and there's not yet been the presidential term turnover, I guess. So as it stands right now, what exactly does it mean to be the International Affairs Director for the K-State SGA?
So basically, being an International Affairs Director, you're just representing and advocating for the needs and making sure that the international students at K-State have a good well-being and are enjoying their time here in Kansas.
Okay, so you're working with a lot of the international students here on campus.
Yes, exactly.
Awesome, and you say that you're helping out with making sure the well-being is there for the students as well.
Yeah, basically just representing them, making sure that their voice are heard, and just advocating for their well-being.
What does it mean to I guess advocate for them, and how does that change, or how do you operate that kind of advocacy for the international students when it comes to maybe meetings with President Kappelman?
So basically, this year, my main vision or main objective was to give them the best experience possible. Because as you heard from my story, how I ended up at K-State, it was basically just random.
Right. And we'll get into that story later when we learn about both. It's an incredible story. We were talking a little bit about it off air, but I want to hear it later. Sorry, Musa, go ahead.
Yeah, and basically the reason why I stayed at K-State was because I had an amazing semester. I met amazing people. And I was just looking forward to give them the same experience as I've had. And basically this year it was just about making sure that they get funding for their organization events, making sure that they get access to K-State athletic games like the men's basketball, so that they can experience it at least one time in their life to see what it looks like to watch an American game. Because back in our country, it's like a myth. You only see that in the movies. So giving them the opportunity to experience that was really part of my goal this year.
Being an international student yourself, how was, I guess, your first experience having gone to an American football game?
Oh, I went to the football game. That was like a dream, like in the movies. You see the cheerleaders jumping around, you see the athletes running around, the marching band. That was a unique experience.
It is. I mean, and nothing like it at the Bill, especially. You know, I mean, you can go to some of those ACC, Big Ten stadiums. It just does not hit like Bill Snyder Family Stadium. Aliyah, I want to jump to you.
Yes.
Give us a little bit of background on your specific job title as well as the job description here for SGA.
Sure. So my position as Campus Access Director, I think the last administration, this position wasn't present, but Brady and Zoe, the vice president, they thought that it was kind of necessary to bring it back. Generally speaking, my position works on making sure students have access to campus buildings, whether it's, blind accessibility, wheelchair accessibility, all that kind of stuff. But recently, I kind of decided to kind of expand my role based off my experiences. I kind of talked to Brady about it, and, he saw a lot of prior experience I had with, connecting students to campus resources like Cat's Cupboard, Lafine, CAPS, all these services that basically address the basic needs of students, there's kind of a big disconnect between resource availability and students actually accessing those resources. So basically, I work on initiatives to try to address those needs.
So a lot of your job comes to, we have the funding and the resources over here to help the student. We have the student who needs help. How do we bridge that gap?
Absolutely. I think I say this a lot, but K-State has some of the most amazing resources that I've seen in any university. Like, we have one of the best food pantries in, the nation.
Shout out Cat's Cupboard.
Shout out Cat's Cupboard, yeah. But we have a surplus of resources. It's just that often from, my involvement and conversations that I've had around campus, students just don't know these resources exist, or they have maybe stigma, or, they're just not aware of these kinds of resources. So
what does the effort to destigmatize using these resources look like? Like, how do you put effort towards that?
Yeah, it's a complex topic. And, that's this year, that's kind of what I've spent my time trying to find out. Currently, I'm working on a research project with SGA to kind of figure out exactly what it is that students where's the disconnect between resource availability and access to those resources. And I mean, I would say it's hard to kind of ask for help, if that makes sense. It's hard to reach out to someone else if you're struggling. Sometimes students, they feel kind of embarrassed by, saying oh, I need to go to my food pantry to get food. But, it's a struggle everyone faces. And I think trying to ingrain it in our culture that, it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to reach out. It's okay to talk to someone about it. That's kind of one of the issues that I'm trying to address.
And that is something that I think it's so ingrained in American culture.
Yeah,
Pride is
definitely.
huge.
Absolutely.
But that's something I think we also see, speaking of resources, the mental health sector of things.
Absolutely.
That's slowly being broken down, and things like BetterHelp, stuff like that. You see ads for it all the time. The little efforts like that slowly start to break down the stigma around needing help, because everyone needs help. It's not just, it comes in different ways. And it's important to have those resources. Now, you mentioned a little bit about accessibility physically and some of the ramps and things, where maybe what do efforts look like to help get more ramps and accessibility in that sector?
Sure. So this semester, my main focus was resource accessibility. But I have spoken, I've created focus groups where, I've talked to students about, specifically students with accessibility needs, where on campus do you see that you need these kinds of resources? And I think one of the most notable ones was a visually impaired student reached out to me, and, they kind of talked to me about how there's a lack of braille on, or at least braille on the maps, if that makes sense, for trying to navigate campus and things like that. So that's definitely one of the initiatives we've looked into. I think next administration, I've kind of set up the framework at least, and I've kind of made the connections around campus for the next administration to kind of take over and, see where they can implement policy. So
are we allowed to ask what that framework may look like when it comes to implementing things like that?
Sure. Mostly it's based on recommendations of the people I've talked to. I mean, currently I'm looking into talking to more students about this, because I really need more information on this. Right now I'm looking at initiatives to kind of reach out to more students and create bigger focus groups, if that makes sense. But the framework is still in progress. So
yeah,
we're kind of figuring it out. Yeah.
100%. I mean, there's always work to be done on campus, the little things, whether it's funding or it's accessibility. Something I find interesting, though, you think about different maybe accessibility needs. Language might be one of them when you think about maybe the international affairs part of it. Has there ever been maybe some overlap between both of your jobs when it comes to making things easier for the international student and giving them the access?
I mean, basically this year, it was sort of a tough year because it was a transition year. A lot of the regulations in the previous years completely changed on this year. So let's say a committee I was part of, the Community Engagement Committee, CEC. So it's brand new, but before it was DEI. So a lot of the rules to allocate funding to the international organizations became harder, but still this year we were able to allocate. I was doing the math this morning, and I think it was about $66,000 just
Wow.
for international students to make events, and that was about half of the budget. So even though it was a tough year, we were still able to allocate that amount of money, which is still remarkable, and I'm still happy for that.
Yeah, and DEI has been one of the, I guess, hot button topics around the new presidential administration. How does that affect both of your jobs? I guess it's a question for both of you. But how does that affect maybe some of the things that come with budgeting as well as working out framework for certain ideas?
I would say for me, what I've noticed is a lot of policy change, a lot of new regulations that we have to face. At least with my position, I mean, since it wasn't instated last year and it's reinstated this year, many of the policies that, you know, the administration was accustomed to kind of changed. And so, like, you know, processes on, you know, maybe thinking about legislation in student senate, or, you know, navigating resources around campus, or like connecting to new offices. It's a bit different, but, you know, it's just a bit of a learning curve that I think all the directors kind of had to navigate. But
I mean, this year was extremely tough also for international students. It became, a lot of them were worried, but thankfully we have an amazing team with the International Student and Scholar Services. We have Stacy Bailey, the director, Victoria, we have Bogi. So basically they send out emails regularly to make sure that international students are legal still, that they're not doing anything that is illegal or risking their status in the US. But definitely at the beginning, like at the end of the last semester, a lot of them were worried about the new administration. But thankfully everything is going well now.
And that's great to hear, because I those fears completely are understandable, and that's part of what's so hard to balance right now. Especially with having to change a lot of the policies and still making things comfortable and easy to adjust, especially with, you know, K-State's a culture shock in a lot of ways, you know. America can be a culture shock big time. So making that as smooth as possible is really important. When you look at, let's say something like, I want to go back to the access. When you look at something like the K-State Master Plan and taking Kedzie Hall and shifting a lot of the services there, how does that maybe make your job easier, Aaliyah?
that actually, like, that's something so amazing that I was like so happy for when I heard about it, because, you know, we have Cat's Cupboard on one side and we have Lafine on the other side, and we have, you know, a bunch of other resources kind of spread around campus. That kind of adds another layer of, I don't want to say complexity, but a layer of like uncertainty about, like, you know, who do I reach out to? Who am I supposed to email? Where am I supposed to go? It makes it definitely way easier just to tell students, like, hey, there's this one stop, Wildcat One Stop. It has all the basic needs resources that we provide as a campus. So like that definitely, like, it makes it much simpler. And I'm like extremely grateful that that was an idea. But saying that, it doesn't mean that there aren't other factors still at play, you know,
And like,
that prevent students from.
didn't we, like, within our committee in SGA launch the website where you can see all the resources too?
Yeah, we've done that as well.
Yeah.
Go ahead and plug the website.
Yeah.
Plug the
I
website
think,
for us.
is it up right now, or is it?
I'll have to ask Brady,
Yeah.
but that's what we worked on during the year, just making sure that students have a place where they can see all the resources on campus, where they're located, what they do. That way they can that way it can make their life easier and experience at K-State better.
Yeah, and we talk about that a lot on this show, is that there are so many resources that people don't use, but at the same time, there's it's hard to figure out where they are. You know, you think about something like PowerCat Financial. I was roaming around the Union because sometimes I just like to explore the buildings, and I didn't even realize there was an extra floor in the Union. I stumbled across it, and I was like, oh, cool, there's a whole other place, because I'd heard about it a ton of times, just never knew where to find it. By the way, there's like a hidden staircase in the Union. If you find it, that's where PowerCat Financial is. But moving things like that into one building that's recognizable, easy to find on campus right next to the Union, is going to be a huge deal
Sure.
for I think the future, as well as just making it easier for students. Musa, when you look at the like, how does your job as affairs director, what do you kind of do to help students who may have that culture shock when they move to Manhattan?
So basically, just this year, I was looking forward to make events that would be like collaborative between American and international students. That way, it can make their transition to the United States easier. Unfortunately, we were not able to. I was looking for games between international and Americans, but with the tank situation, all of that had to be canceled, unfortunately. But mainly, we're just looking for events through which international students can connect between each other, and just events through which international students and American can also meet and network. That way, their transition to the US is just easier, and they're not alone also.
Yeah, being able to find friend groups, I imagine, is very huge.
I was gonna add to that. I know I'm also a multicultural student, and I think American culture is like amazing, but it's like a lot at once. So, like, I've experienced a lot of benefit that comes from when we create like communities of international students or multicultural students where students can feel like they belong. And I think, shout out to Musa, I think he's really worked to do that. So yeah.
Boom! Shout out to both of you. I mean, honestly, it's good. It's good stuff. It's awesome. And it's so important being able to give all students access, especially to give international students, make the place feel like home, right?
Yeah, sure.
I grew up coming to Manhattan, so it was an easier transition, but the college transition is hard for everybody, especially I couldn't imagine moving to, somewhere like Ireland. When I visited for 2 weeks in an Irish dorm, and the no AC really got to me. I'm going to be honest with you. August humidity with no air conditioning, I did not sleep very well. But those kind of things can be really hard. Especially when you factor in, there's things changing on campus. When you look over on Claflin, the International Student Center, that building is now torn down. Musa, how has that maybe affected things, and what are kind of new protocols for the international students?
I mean, it was nice to have that building as a space international students could go to on campus, but mainly the decision to move it to Jardines was because most of the international students are located there. So basically that office is closer to them, and basically their needs can get satisfied faster and quicker within a closer environment as well. But it's unfortunate to see the building go. It was a nice building. I love the architecture, but
yeah, coffee hours were really nice there.
Yeah.
I miss those.
I
they still do them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
I was a big fan of the architecture as well. I
beautiful.
just walked around it once as a freshman because I was like, I'd never seen it.
Yeah.
I went across the bridge. It was just like, it was tranquil.
Yeah.
It was very nice. It was just a very like, I don't know, like peaceful feeling.
Yeah.
Walking around there. It was very, very well done. But it also makes a lot of sense to move it to Jardine.
Yeah.
And Jardine's architecture is good too. It's still.
I mean, it's a smaller space, but that's still the job.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Now, Musa, you mentioned you allocated or you had $66,000 to international student events.
Yep.
What do some of those events look like?
So basically, you have everyone who is listening to this, make sure to come. I think it's on April 4th or 5th to the African Night. That was one of the biggest events we funded. I think it was about 20,000. So if you want to experience African culture, the food, the dressing, the sounding, and everything, make sure to pull up. It's free for everyone.
Wow.
And so basically we have that. We have International Week. We have international organization like Sri Lankan organization or Indian organization who want to showcase their culture. They just come, they request funding, they make a presentation. And as long as it is in the guidelines of the new committee, they get the funding allocated to them.
That's awesome. So do you work with the Student Allocations Committee fairly frequently?
Yep. Mainly CEC, Community Engagement Committee.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we've talked to them very much yet on the show yet, but we've talked a lot to the Student Allocations Committee.
Yeah, shout out to Alondra.
Yeah,
Shout
the chair.
they're
Alondra's
doing
the goat.
amazing. Yeah.
Aaliyah, have you talked to them much?
I have actually. I was previously in the Muslim Student Association. I've requested funding from them a couple of times. It's an amazing committee, and they make the process really simple to understand. So
But this year it was tougher though, unfortunately.
yeah, because all the policy
Yeah,
stuff. Yeah.
It has to
Yeah.
be an educational event now, and it cannot be just a social event.
Really.
which was some of the downs of this year. Some organizations were not able to get funding because of that. That was unfortunate, but most of them got the funding, thankfully.
Yeah, thankfully.
That's really interesting. So you couldn't do anything that was student based if it was not educational.
So it needed to have an educational aspect to get the funding within CEC.
Really? Okay. So I guess what would it look like to make it an educational event rather than just a student, event to come together, a community event?
So basically, you cannot just request funding for an event where people are just going to come and eat and talk. But let's say you take African Night. It's teaching to the people here at K-State about African culture. And just that educational aspect was enough to request funding and to get it approved.
Well, that's good. I mean, I think that's very important. That's very important to learn about as well, in order, to experience those kind of things is very important. But I just find that very interesting because you'd think that at the same time, I think just eating food and talking, those are my favorite parties. Are you kidding me? I whenever I'm at a party and someone's like, it's board game time, I'm like, okay. But I love just standing around talking, and I think that a lot of times if you're doing it at one of these events, that's where you could find the most education. Arguably, is talking to a lot of the people and meeting them where they are. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
100%. I agree. At least before the major policy changes. So when I was involved with the Muslim Student Association, when we would apply for funding, like education was of course a big important part, but I think even if it wasn't the main focus, even if our events were open to everyone, and I think many of the international and multicultural students events are just they're open to everyone, everyone's welcome, even as you mentioned, just talking to the people there, hey, where are you from, you just kind of hit it off, and I think that in and of itself becomes educational. But yeah, I mean, now I think it's a bigger focus on the event needs to be centered around some topic of education.
If you have food from, let's say, India at an event, you have to teach to the people attending what the food mean, what the food represent in the culture, the ingredients, and everything related to it, to get an educational aspect to it when you request funding.
That would be, I'd be very interested to learn that personally. I think that'd be actually pretty cool. That'd be awesome. But I just find that's a very interesting policy change. But that's that's just how, things that happen nationally still do affect this campus a lot, especially what you guys do. With maybe current policies as they are changing, you look at your job and maybe what your future positions might be depending on what happens with the term change. Maybe what are some things you guys are working on now to help prepare for the future?
Sure.
I think your research is more valid.
So a majority of my time this year has been spent on working on a research project. Specifically, I'm looking at trying to identify the barriers that prevent students from accessing campus resources. So I've noticed that universities in general are becoming health systems. And by health system, it means that, students use the university as a primary source for any kind of basic needs support that they need. Again, Lafine, Cat's Cupboard, things like that. Because of that, it becomes important to see, are students utilizing the resources correctly? Do we have extra resources? Where can we improve? So I've started a research project kind of asking students where these barriers are. Do they know these resources exist? What is their personal experiences with these resources? Are they willing to come back to these resources? Are they willing to recommend these resources to a friend? And basically, once I have that data from this year, I hope the next administration, I can kind of pass on that data so they can start implementing policy change on campus. But, this project is not for our university alone. It's for universities around the United States. Right now I'm wrestling with IRB approval, trying to get that
funding.
Yeah, it's
always funding.
Funding and things like that. But I'm hopeful that I'll have the data by the next administration. Yeah,
that's awesome. I hope so as well.
Yeah.
Musa, what about you?
It was my first year ever in SGA, first year related to any administration thing. So I loved it because I learned so many things. I faced so many situations. So going forward, I'm just looking for feedback from the different people I've worked with and just come up with new stuffs, improve on their feedback, and yeah, make international communities better for the coming years.
Always trying to make the community better here at K-State University. We're having fun on the SGA Weekly Update, getting very informed here right now. But when we come back, we're going to learn a little bit more about Musa and Elia, them personally, their stories to getting to K-State, and just their stories in general. All that and more is coming up on the SGA Weekly Update. You're listening to Wildcat 91.9. You belong. We're keeping it hanging. We're chilling out in Studio D for Wildcat 91.9. You belong. Welcome back to the SGA Weekly Update. My name is Jimmy Kaufman, and I'm hanging out with the Campus Access Director, Elia Davuti, and the International Affairs Director, Musa Gakko, and we are debating, who's the better soccer player, Messi or Ronaldo, which is the most integral question in sports outside of Jordan or LeBron. Now, I guess we'll go ahead and open the question to the floor here. Musa, I want to start with you because you asked the question. What would you say is the answer to Messi or Ronaldo?
Oh, Messi forever.
Messi
Oh
forever.
my gosh.
Okay. Why Messi forever?
That guy is just like, so I don't glaze on people, but he's just born for it. Like even when he was 3 years old, he was cooking everyone on the field. So that guy is just born for it, and Ronaldo is more of someone who made it through hard work, and I respect him for that.
Yeah.
But when it comes to talent, it's just Messi, bro.
I get it. I mean, they both got the sauce.
Yeah.
I had a friend of mine who was like die hard Ronaldo fan, and then you also have like speed is the whole thing. Ilya, what do you think? What about you?
Die hard Ronaldo.
Wow. Here
Wow.
we go. Here we
Respect.
go.
Wow.
It's just,
No.
like all around, this guy's just, so talented. I mean, I get it, hard work. Messi, like, I give him respect, right? He has talent. Of course he has talent, but all around goal scorer, best finishes in the game. I think Ronaldo has amazing skill. So
I get it. I'm not as well versed in soccer as I'd like to be. But give me a tie. give me Paul Pogba. Actually, I used to have his cleats. I was a big Pogba fan, and in middle school when I played soccer, I loved Juventus in Italy.
yeah, Juventus was good.
That's a great team. Don't ask me about my soccer prowess. I once scored on my own goal. Anyways, we're moving on. We're moving on from 7th grade soccer. I want to get into a little bit more about you guys, your stories on how you got to K-State. When we have some great stories. Musa, we were talking a little bit about you're from Senegal.
Yep.
And your story to K-State was really interesting because it happened by mistake. So I want to start with you. How did you come to be a student at Kansas State University?
Okay, so the full story. I graduate high school. I was top in my country, part of the top in my country.
Which, congratulations, by the way.
Oh.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
That's great.
So I basically could have gone to any school I wanted to. My dad is like, applied to this school in France. It's an engineering school. That was his dream school, but he got denied from there. So I was like, sure, I'll apply and I'll show you I get there. I apply, I get accepted, but I don't want to go there. I don't want to do engineering. I want to become a doctor. So I applied to all the Ivies in the US, but I was dumb and I didn't send my scores. So I get rejected from all of them. So last minute, I'm sitting, I don't have any university to go to, and time is ticking. So I do a quick Google search. I see Manhattan, Kansas. I didn't know Kansas was a state. So at first I thought I was going to New York. So I apply without checking. I get accepted. I'm like, okay, let me see where I'm going. I realize it's a different Manhattan. And I'm like, oh shoot, what did I put myself in? I was like, okay, I'll just spend here 1 semester and I'm going to transfer. But actually, that was the reason why I wanted to run for this position, was to give the international student the best experience at K-State. Because that was the reason why I stayed here. If it was not that, I would have transferred and changed university.
Yeah. I think that story is awesome because, some things, though they were accidental, they might be by design, right? You come here and you end up finding your home. That is a hilarious story. And I would be, if someone's like, hey, we're going to New York and they brought me to a farm, I'd be like, okay, well.
We're in the towers. I want to see grass.
Yeah, like literally, like you're hanging out and you're like, oh man, I can't wait to go to, it's like you're going to a 5-star dinner and then they pull up to a 5-star McDonald's. There you go. Because no hate on Manhattan, Kansas. It's great here. That's why, Musa, that's why you stayed. And we're glad you stayed. I mean, it's awesome. How has your experience in Manhattan been?
Oh, amazing.
It's been awesome.
Like the people are amazing, actually. I met so many people from different backgrounds, and it was just amazing.
How was that transition like when you got to Manhattan? You're like, okay, this is where we're at now.
So
what did that look like?
I remember my first day in the dorms. So I did my whole education in French. So my English was very, very bad. So I was hearing people speaking English and I couldn't understand anything. I was just Google translating every time.
Mm-hmm.
But the people who were speaking were actually very nice. And every time they would explain to me what's the meaning of the word, of help me translate it. So everyone was so supportive and so helpful, even though English was not my main language, that I was like, okay, this is my place. I'm just going to stay.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's, actually, to make this about sports, because that's what I do, there was actually a story. Bill Snyder, right, the Hall of Fame football coach that transitioned this great university into anything relevant in football. His story, he interviewed here at KC. He got done with his interview. He was like, that was cool. But he, in order to decide whether he wanted to actually be in Manhattan, Kansas, he walked around campus knowing where he was going, but asking people for directions to see how they respond. And everyone was really nice. They directed him. They even would walk him there or something. And he decided that was the place for him. And I think that it's cool to hear stories like that transition in terms of helping out your fellow neighbor and bringing camaraderie to this mini city that we share.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome. Elia, I want to transition to you.
Sure.
How did you come to be a Kansas State student?
Yeah, so I mean, my dad and mom moved here when I was 3 from, the Middle East, and I've lived in Manhattan my whole life. My sister was a K-Stater, so she graduated here from ComSci. She's in pharmacy now.
Nice.
But growing up, I would come to the events on K-State. International events. We had a great Persian culture here as well. So we had our New Year's celebrations and we would come to K-State, and I just fell in love with the community. I mean, again, like Musa said, there's some amazing people at K-State, and just Kansas in general, people are just really, really nice. And I thought that K-State was the place for me, and they had amazing resources as well, support resources and financial aid. So I thought it was a logical choice. So I thought K-State's right for me, and thank God, it's been amazing. So yeah.
Hey, it sounded pretty logical to me.
Yeah,
I mean, that's awesome. And again, comes down to camaraderie, just being able to enjoy the company around you and being able to help out. Never be afraid. If someone looks lost, just go ask if they're lost, man. I think that's what makes this campus so strong, is that everyone's down to help each other. And it's great. And that's a super cool story as well. How was the adjustment moving so young? How was the adjustment coming to the States?
Yeah. Of course, for any family, it was a bit hard at the start, trying to fit in to the community, if that makes sense. But, again, since the people in Manhattan are so supportive, thank God it was good for my dad and my mom. It was easy for us to kind of transition. I have an uncle here as well. He helped us out a lot. So, shout out, uncle.
Shout out, uncle.
But, yeah. So, slow process, but eventually we've been here for however long. I've been here for a while, so
yeah, you grew up here basically.
The transition was good. Yeah,
that's awesome. Now I am, for both of you, I'm curious about this question. What is it that maybe other people in the town do that make it feel easier to be integrated into the community? What are maybe some of the things that you see the most that make you feel at home the most?
I mean, feel home is a big word.
That's true. That's fair.
I live by the ocean, so and here there's only grass. So.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Closest thing is Tuttle Creek.
Right.
Yeah. And the food is different from home. So I guess the most fun part was just experiencing the Kansas culture. And it was just basically like the movie. So I went to the rodeo with him.
Oh, yeah.
That was...
First time I've ever been to a rodeo.
That was amazing.
I hate to be that guy. I haven't even been. I wasn't able to go. I was out of town.
That was like the cowboy movies I used to watch when I was younger. that was same to same. Like that was amazing. Part of my best experience here.
Really?
That was a really good
Yeah.
rodeo. Yeah.
That's my dad was actually a rodeo guy growing up.
Really?
So my dad, he moved around from Missouri to Oklahoma. My grandfather ended up working at the university. And then my dad here, he did high school rodeo and he'd like travel. He was a calf roper.
Wow.
Wow.
Which watch calf roping. That looks a little mean, but still impressive. But yeah, my dad, he was like the classic example of like could have gone pro if I didn't get an injury. I think he injured his leg and then he stopped doing rodeo.
The knee.
The knee injury. Yeah, there it is. I could have gone pro, you know, but he was incredibly good. I have some of his old rodeo stuff, but it's odd. I've even, despite my dad's rodeo past, I've never been to a rodeo in my life.
Wow.
So I guess how would you rate the experience? You guys also got to experience the new stadium. How was it?
Wow.
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10?
That was
10 out of
beautiful.
10.
That was amazing.
What was your favorite event,
Event I've been.
or like the favorite event in the rodeo? I should say.
Oh, whenever the guy just run and just has to jump and put the coat down, that
Yeah.
was crazy good.
The calf roping where they gotta tie it.
Yeah.
I would say there was one where they jumped on the calf, and then there's one that they lassoed the calf.
Mm-hmm.
I think the lasso one was really cool.
Yeah, that was like in the movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
A little bit of a yeehaw. Shout out to Sandy Cheeks from SpongeBob.
Shout out.
You you guys SpongeBob fans?
Oh, yeah.
SpongeBob watcher? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. The best one. Shout out the Bubble Bowl.
Patrick.
Oh yeah. Patrick's the goat, dude. Patrick's actually the goat. Is he best SpongeBob character?
Now put SpongeBob.
Of
So you
course,
think SpongeBob is the best?
Yeah.
The best. Goat.
I don't know.
Who would you put first?
I don't know. I gotta really think about this. Larry's a good one, but Larry's not the best. I might actually give it to Plankton. I'm not gonna lie,
Yeah.
because Plankton is way too funny.
Yeah.
I think Plankton is easily the funniest character, just because he's just a little silly guy, man. Like I'd say the same thing about Phineas and Ferb. Doofenshmirtz is the best character,
That was a good one.
right?
You're reminding
yeah.
me of my childhood.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Gravity Falls.
I know that too.
Oh yeah, Gravity Falls.
Disney
is the
Channel
best.
is to watch that every day.
Oh yeah. I mean, come on. Cartoons are the best, and that's why this Coco Melon stuff. You guys don't know. So we're getting off track, but this Coco Melon stuff, you don't know what it was like. Disney XD, okay, Nickelodeon, even Nick at Night. Shout out that George Lopez. I was there.
Shout out Jake Paul.
Shout out Jake
He was
Paul.
on Disney Channel.
Shout out Bizarre Park. Bizarre Park was crazy, man. I was actually a member of the Low Gang, though. I can't relate. So, circling back. Okay, so you guys find your way to K-State, whether by accidental Manhattan or living in Manhattan. What then got you into wanting to be a part of SGA, and how was that process like? Elio, we'll start with you.
Sure. So mine was is based off kind of what I'm really passionate about. So as an immigrant, me and my family, like at first we experienced some issues navigating resources around the Manhattan community. Again, shout out to the Manhattan community. Like,
Come on.
yeah, there's like a Manhattan free clinic, and like it's just amazing. There's food resources, there's clothing opportunities. But then again, it's difficult trying to navigate resources, and there's a lot of stress that comes with that. So kind of coming into college, like I realized like, hey, I'm free to really pursue what I'm passionate about. In high school, like you have a set curriculum, you got to take this course, but college is where you can just like choose what you're passionate about. So I started getting involved with the Muslim Student Association to kind of build a sense of community for myself, and get involved with the people around K-State. And I thought I can take the basic needs aspect of at least what I'm passionate about, kind of expand that to campus, if that makes sense. So I started working with the Manhattan Free Clinic, and I created a student organization where we connect patients to resources around the Manhattan community, whether it's food, clothing, things like that. I did that for a while, and then, I'm still doing that, but I saw similar needs and similar resource gaps on K-State. So I thought, SGA is a wonderful place to kind of pursue that passion. So, I kind of extended what I was already doing at the Manhattan Free Clinic to, students.
Wow. I mean, that's awesome. Again, it's a little bit of connecting, town to school,
Yeah.
in providing those same things. But also, do you ever work with that free clinic for your job here at SGA?
Not
Do they-
specifically. I mean, The Manhattan Free Clinic gives services to those without insurance. And, if you're a K-State student, you have Lafine. So, there's not much of a connect. It's just what I do specifically is I recruit students on campus to use their skills that they have, whether they're, finance majors, they help accounting for patients. Whether they're, whatever major they are, just kind of extending those experiences to help out patients. But not much overlap that,
Yeah.
I've seen.
No, that's fair. But I still think it's incredible. You see some of the things there and you bring it to K-State.
Yeah.
And I believe you said that your official job title did not exist until Brady Kappelman brought it in. Was that part of your suggestion or how did that work?
Yeah, I mean, so I had a friend, shout out Ibrahim.
Yeah.
He introduced me to SGA actually. And I looked into SGA. So my position specifically that I'm in currently, last year it wasn't instated, and the year before it was. But they would focus on, campus lighting, ramps, things like that. But, I kind of came in and defined the word access more broadly. Brady saw that, based off of my experiences, he kind of let me know that, look, like, there is this position, you can kind of expand it, you're like free to work on what you're passionate about. And, like, again, shout out Brady, like he saw where I could kind of contribute to
Where you could fit.
yeah, where I can fit. And he said, come on, we'll figure it out. And, it's been amazing since, the start of the term.
And that's what good leaders do. Shout out President Kappelman, soon to be
Shout
former
out.
President Kappelman.
Yes.
We'll miss you.
Bittersweet.
I know, very bittersweet. Musa, I want to kick it to you. What was your experience like getting into SGA? Like, how did you find out about it and then come to find your position?
So, shout out to Ibrahim. I was hoping that's how I met him.
Nice.
Actually, Ibrahim, my first roommate, Nick, and this guy named Jake was the first people I met. They were actually the people that, as soon as I met them, I was like, okay, I'm going to stay at K-State. So I met Ibrahim. He introduced me to SGA. And he was like, dude, you should become the International Affairs Director. Then I was thinking, I was like, I met so many amazing people that made my experience amazing at K-State. And I just realized I could be the same person for the international students. Since when they come here, they don't know anybody. Most of the time, they're alone. And I was like, dude, just run for it. And he really pushed me on it. He introduced me to everyone in cabinet. And that was really a good experience. And I was like, okay, I'll just run. And that's how I ended up here.
Incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, that's shout out to Ibrahim, man. He's making all the connections. Holy. I got to start hooping. Meet Ibrahim, maybe. Oh, no, but it's super cool. And something that both of you mentioned was that, you experienced something and you wanted to give that experience to others. Did you ever have a specific moment where you felt the call to serve? Was that something that maybe you felt or experienced?
The call to serve in which way?
Like you just feel it in you that you want to serve others. Like, what was that moment being like, I want to be the one serving other people?
I do. Or do you, if you want to go first?
Go first.
Okay, sure. So, I was at the Manhattan Free Clinic, and I volunteer as a CNA there as well. So, I kind of sit patients down, get their blood pressure, stuff like that, and kind of see their pre-existing conditions. And there was this one patient. Her insurance just ran out like the same month, and she found out she was diabetic. So she had to go to the hospital, and the hospital gave her a set supply of insulin, and then like her insulin was running out, and insulin is crazy expensive.
Yep.
So she kind of like looked at me and was like, I don't know what to do. I'm in a situation where it's like, I don't know how to get my insurance back, and now I'm here trying to see if you guys can help me out. And in that situation, like, I just kind of felt, I don't want to say helpless, but I feel like I couldn't do anything for her. And I thought that gosh, I'm in college, like I have so much opportunity, I know a lot of people, like I should just do something about it, and that's how I started No Patient Untreated, which is the Manhattan Free Clinic, the student initiative that I'm working on, but also involving an SGA, because at the same time I was seeing students with the exact same concerns. Like I've met with students who said, look, I don't know what to do, because sometimes it's hard budgeting as a student and trying to figure out how to make ends meet sometimes. So, I thought that I can give back to my community a bit. So, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And that's just such a cool moment being, and I think that's another part of the like community, in empathy is just being able to see other people and feel that experience, and then and the call to serve follows right after. It's very important. That's awesome. Musa, what about you?
I think the call to serve comes from how I grew up. Like, my mom is the most generous person I've ever seen on earth. Like, even last month, I believe, she had an event where she gave out boxes of food. I think about 1,000 people or so. So I grew up seeing her doing that a couple times a month, helping people whenever they need, and that just became part of myself to help whoever I can, whenever I can. And yeah, basically that's what's pushing me every day in this position.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Getting pushed into position. That's the motto today. Push yourself into a position to serve others. We're hanging out. It's a great time. We're hanging out with Musa and Ilya. When we return, we're going to be wrapping up the SGA Weekly update. All that and more is coming up next on Wildcat 91.9. You belong. We're wrapping it up on another crazy episode of the SGA Weekly Update on Wildcat 91.9. You belong. My name is Jimmy Kaufman. We're hanging out with Ilya Davuti, the Campus Access Director, as well as Musa Gakko, the International Affairs Director. Did you crack your knuckles, Musa?
Oh yeah.
I heard that was like vivid in my ears. So I was like,
ASMR.
whoa. Yeah, that was. Welcome back.
Oh my God.
We're on the SGA Weekly Update. I hope you enjoyed listening. We're watching a little bit of Big 12 basketball out in Kansas City. Iowa State beating up on Arizona State. K-State unfortunately not in it anymore, but you know what? They had a good run. But we've had a good run here as well. I want to thank both of you, Ilya as well as Musa. It's been a great time, guys. It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yes.
Yep.
Anytime. You guys are welcome back anytime. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. We got K-State baseball on later. Have you guys been to Twenton Family Stadium yet?
Nope.
Not yet.
Actually, baseball I think is the only sport I haven't watched yet.
I highly recommend watch a game. I just went my first time, or I just called my first game on Sunday for baseball, which is cool. We do that at Wildcat 91.9 now, and it is just like I love the ballpark. Maybe today's not the best day for it, but tomorrow they're doing another game this Friday.
Okay.
Anytime you can, get out there. It is absolutely worth the
What's
trip.
like one thing you think I should experience before leaving the States?
Oh man, I gotta think. One thing
In
you gotta
Kansas.
experience in Kansas. Wow! You've gone to the Varsity Food Truck?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there you go. Have you been to Pillsbury Crossing?
What is that?
It's this little spot.
Oh, yeah.
It's basically like a creek is running through this part. It's a little bit outside of Manhattan. It's not a small drive. But there's this part where the water shallows up so cars can get across this bridge. But people will take lawn chairs out there. They might bring a football or something. You usually take your shoes off and just stand in the water.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's nice on a nice, warm, sunny day. It just feels good. Sit there, talk, play whatever. Absolutely worth it. Bring a speaker. It's a lot of fun. So that's something I highly recommend you experience.
Sure.
That and a baseball game. But our experience here is done. We thank you at home for listening. From Musa Gakko, from Ilya Davuti, and from Jimmy Kaufman, we say thank you for listening. We'll be back after next week, after spring break. We'll be back Wednesday at noon with another wacky cast of characters talking SGA. But for today, we say thank you for listening and have a great week. You're listening to Wildcat 91.9. Goodbye. You belong.